Hold on there, friend. Hold on, I'm not going to do anything to you. Say what? What do you want me to do? You want me to take my mask off? You want me to give you my gun? Nice and easy. Okay, it's coming. Ready for it? How about now? Hold your horses. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button, and also smash that notification button. Good afternoon. Slick Sixguns here from Slick Sixguns Network again. And guess what? I got a special treat for you. We are going to be talking about the 1871 open top revolver from Colt. However, this is actually not a real Colt. This is actually a replica made by Uberti in Italy, and it's imported by Cimarron. What we're going to be talking today is we're going to be talking about a history of this revolver and how it kind of came into being. If you heard me last time, I talked a little bit about the 1860 Army. Well, that was a percussion revolver. The percussion revolver era pretty much went well into the late 1800s, but we started to see kind of more towards the 1870s, 1880s, 1870s, and even earlier we still saw percussion revolvers being either converted into cartridge revolvers, or we also just had the development of cartridge revolvers kind of coming out outright. Well, this is actually known as Colt's missing link revolver. And it is actually Colt's legitimate first cartridge-loaded revolver. In other words, what I mean is the cartridges were loaded into the rear of the cylinder. You didn't have to worry about percussion. In other words, you would have to cap it. You would have to load from the cylinder, from the front of the cylinder with a loading lever. But this one actually has your standard ejector rod. There were other cartridge revolvers that Colt had before this, such as the Richard Mason's conversion, which actually was pretty much old cap and ball revolvers prior to the Civil War and during the Civil War that were sent back to the factory and had their cylinders converted to carry cartridges. Some of them even still maintain the loading lever on them, but they eventually, some models took that off and then they put the ejector rod on it, and therefore it had the ability to eject cartridges effectively. The thing was that 1870, Roland White had his patent on bored-through cylinders. Basically, since the 1850s, Colt had kind of been burdened with the fact that maybe he wanted to come out with cartridge conversions or wanted to come out with cartridge revolvers to keep up with the times, but he couldn't because of patent rights. Okay, well, Roland White had a patent for a bored-through cylinder that he had given to Smith & Wesson, and most of these weapons were actually smaller and weak in power, like 22 and 32, which actually, as a result, when Smith & Wesson went to the government to sell their revolvers, they still got the government contract, but they weren't quite as popular. In fact, because Roland White actually requested to renew his patent, which expired in 1870, the government actually told him, no, you're not going to do that because you make really weak cartridges and we want someone else to actually be able to expand on the market, because he kind of had the monopoly on that. So Colt was really happy when that patent expired, as well as many other firearms manufacturers. And what he did was he came up with this revolver. And this revolver is different from cartridge conversions. The conversions were originally percussion and then were converted using basically a recoil shield add-on with a loading gate, and basically kind of cut the cylinder down, at least cut the nipples off of the cylinder to allow it to be bored through. But this one actually came out as that cartridge revolver and had the loading gate already on it, so you didn't have to convert anything. Basically, the way you tell the difference between the two, the cartridge conversions and the open top, is you're going to see that the sights, there's a rear sight on the barrel. Alright, you're going to see that on an open top, and you're not going to see that on a cartridge conversion. On a cartridge conversion, you're actually going to see it on the hammer, much like your percussion revolvers. All of these revolvers originally came in a 7.5-inch barrel. This one is actually in 5.5, and if they were needing to be shorter, some of them were sent into a gunsmith and cut down, and or cut down by the owner. Open tops also don't have a top strap to them. That's why they're called the open top. Much like the conversions, and similar to the 1860 frame. But what's also unique about the history of this pistol is that as soon as it was produced, it basically became obsolete. And here's why. First off, the thing is that it fired the 44 rimfire, which was originally designed for the Henry rifle and also later the Model 1866. Colt said, hey, you know, we've got 44 cartridges out there in rimfire. Why don't we go ahead and just convert a pistol into that same caliber to go with your Henry or 1866 rifle, which is a great idea, and later on would be adopted, especially with the adoption of the 1873 Winchester rifle and the 1873 Colt single-action Army. Kind of the same principle. But unlike the percussion revolvers that had gotten the military contracts that Colt wanted, these weren't really popular with the military. In fact, the United States Ordnance Department kind of said, so Colt, you're coming out with a new revolver? Well, what's it got? What's so different from that and the percussion? Oh, it's got bored through cylinders, but your conversions do that. So what's the point? We're just going to buy basically the same thing. So the thing is that because the Ordnance Department already had cartridge conversions in the percussion revolvers, the military contract with this didn't even exist and wouldn't ever come about. As a result, 5,000 to 7,000 of these revolvers were actually made. Then, shortly after 1871, 1872, they were actually discontinued by Colt because he came out with a single-action Army in later of 1872 and then adopted it, or had it actually patented in 1873. So that's the thing with this revolver, is it really it could have been popular, but just because of the amount of cartridge conversions that were out there that already had bored through cylinders, it wasn't as popular. And basically the civilian market still bought them, which was a good thing for him. So, you know, somebody who couldn't afford a Henry rifle, which was far more expensive than your typical open top, they'd be very interested in something like this. Okay, so they were the ones who typically went out and bought these. And well, outlaws, cowgirls, and cowboys, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. And if you're looking forward to the next video, I'll see you on down the trail. Have a good one.